Hi, so in this video, we will discuss your protein biomolecule. So, ano pumapasok sa isip nyo when you heard the word protein? So, ito ba'y para sa pagbibuild up ng muscles, no? So, we have this whey protein. So, yun lang ang function nga lang ba at ang role nga lang ba ng protein ay para sa pag-build up ng muscles natin, or pag pumasok sa ang pag narinig niyo itong protein na to, ang pumapasok sa isip niyo ay itong mga to, yung karne kung tawagin, yung meats, di ba? So tama rin naman kayo because our meats is mostly composed of proteins. Okay? So, pakitandaan yun, mostly. Hindi lahat ng meat ay protein. So, meron pa siyang other components. Okay? May iba pa siyang biomolecule maybe. At syempre, of course, your meat has water and other substances or molecules na. Okay? So, for this video, okay, we will try to answer, okay, and we will address these questions like, what are the roles and importance of proteins in our body? And how are proteins formed? What is their structure? Okay? So, let's go first to the roles and importance of proteins. Okay? So, there are so many functions of proteins. Okay? Kaya kailangan talaga ng katawan natin yan. So, we will discuss one by one. Okay? So, first of all, proteins accelerates chemical reactions. So this function was specifically done by enzymes. Okay, so we had seen from our previous videos that enzymes lowers the activation energy of a biochemical reaction. It also aids in the better fit of to the transition state of such reactions. Okay, from the transition state from the reactants up to the products. Okay, so your enzymes, okay, helps them. Okay, so to break down some molecules or also to make some molecules. To make some ATP, we saw that it's needed by it needs your ATP synthase, diba? Okay, your ATP synthase is an enzyme. Okay, so enzymes are proteins. Take note of that. So one good example of your enzymatic proteins is your digestive enzymes that catalyze, okay, the hydrolysis of bonds in food molecules. So digestive enzymes found maybe on our digestive tract, in our mouth, or in our stomach. Okay, it helps down the breakdown of the food that we eat. So, of course, we need that to break down. So, for example, the long polysaccharide chain of your starch, of your amylose, diba? So, the cleavage or the hydrolysis of these polysaccharides was catalyzed through enzymes. Okay? So, remember that each step in the glycolysis or in any other biochemical reaction is catalyzed by a certain specific enzyme. So kung marami tayong biochemical reactions sa katawan natin, and thousands and even millions of enzymes, are unique enzymes can be found on a single living thing. At ang importante dyan, isa pa, I want to point out is that merong mga enzymes na sa tao lang at merong hindi nakikita sa ibang hayop. At kagaya nga nung nabanggit natin at the enzyme that is used to manufacture your vitamin C was lost through time in humans. That's why hindi tayo makagawa ng sarili nating vitamin C. We only we only need to intake your vitamin C through our diet, right? So, yan, enzymes is one function of protein. Second function is your storage of amino acids. Okay? So, storage meaning uh, ano lang siya, pag halimbawang reserba ba. Okay? Sabi nga, reserve. Okay, so one example would be the casein found in your milk. Okay, the protina of your milk. So, alam naman natin, mayaman sa protina ang gatas. So, that protein is the protein that can be found in your milk is your casein. But then, please do remember that hindi lang naman ito. Okay? The major protein in milk is casein. Okay? So remember that milk also has the specific sugar, your lactose. Okay? And milk has also, of course, lipids. Okay? So your casein is the protein part of your milk. Okay? So it's the major source of amino acids for baby animals. So para mag-provide ng protina ang mother sa kanilang baby, kailangan ng casein ng gatas. So through the gatas kasi hindi pa naman nakakakain ng solid food ang mga baby, di ba? Okay? So, kaya yon. So, in the form of liquid, milk, ayan. So, for the plants naman, meron din silang storage protein sa kanilang mga seeds. Okay? Ito pa rin yung ovalbumin. Okay? In the protein of egg white is used as the amino acid source for the developing embryo. Okay? So, yung puti ng itlog, okay, ang function pala nun ay para magbigay ng protina dun sa nade-develop na sisiw. Okay? So alam naman natin that yung nade-develop na embryo or na sisiw nga can be found on the egg, sa kulay dilaw ng itlog, di ba? So yun kaya mayaman sa protina ang itlog, okay? Because it contains the ovalbumin. Alright? So, next set of functions. So, proteins functions as hormones and as motor or for movement. Okay? So, for the hormonal proteins, its role is as for the coordination of activities. Okay? Coordination meaning maraming nagpe-play ng role. So, for example, your high blood sugar, okay, mataas ang sugar sa dugo mo. So, ang katawan natin dapat makontrol yan. And how to control that? So, i-coordinate yan ng katawan natin, ng utak, and of course, ng pancreas. Okay? So, your pancreas would release this insulin. Okay? So, your insulin is a protein. Okay? So, it causes other tissues to take up glucose, thus regulating the blood sugar concentration. So, mababawasan na ngayon yung concentration ng sugar sa dugo mo. Eh, ngayon, kung ikaw ay may diabetes, may komplikasyon ka, hindi ka lagi kang high blood sugar, mataas ang sugar mo kasi may type ng diabetes na hindi sila makapag-produce ng insulin. So, lagi silang mataas ang sugar. Okay, dahil walang nagko-control, walang insulin. Kaya ano ginagawa ng iba? Nagtuturok ng insulin. Okay? So, other functions of protein. The next one is for movement. So, yung muscles natin, okay, is the very good example for this function, for movement. So, motor proteins are responsible for the undulation of cilia and flagella. Actin and myosin proteins are responsible for the contraction of muscle. So, sa bawat galaw natin, okay, ano yan, nagbibigay yan ang nagko-contract doon at gumagalaw ay itong si actin at si myosin. Okay, nandun nga sa mga muscles natin, doon sa meat ng proteins. Okay? So, alam naman natin, pagka ginagalaw natin ang ating katawan, nabibuild up, di ba? So, kung halimbawa nagbuhat ka ng barbells, di ba? So pag sa pagbubuhat mo yun, ulit-ulit na ginagawa dahil galaw ng galaw, ayun. So nabibuild up, nagkakaroon ng shape ang ating mga muscles, yung mga desired shape, di ba? Okay? So pagdating naman dito sa hormonal proteins, may iba-iba pang example, your melatonin, your T3, T4, and your calcitonin for your thyroid, at marami pang iba. So, one good example is for your insulin. Next. Okay, so proteins can also protect us against diseases and as for transport of substances. So in the case of your defensive proteins, okay, so one good example na dyan is itong antibodies. So antibodies is a type of protein. So it's a defensive protein. Okay, so antibodies inactivate and help destroy viruses and bacteria. So your antibodies, okay, so puntahan na natin si SARS-CoV-2, no, si virus. Okay, so para malabanan yon, so our immune system produces antibodies. Okay, so these antibodies, yun nga, dinedestroy niya yung virus. So kaya nga itong isa sa mga pang-detect ng COVID is yung antibody testing. Okay? But madedetect mo lang si antibody kung halos nalabanan na ng katawan mo pagka gumaling ka na. Kaya hindi pa ganun ka-accurate yung antibody testing. 'Di ba? Kasi much later pa siya madedetect pagka halimbawa gumaling ka na nga or nalabanan na ng katawan mo yung COVID-19. That's why hindi siya masyadong ginagamit for the detection. So again, the gold standard would be your RT-PCR test. Okay? So next is your transport protein for the transport of substances. So alam naman natin sa cell membrane, so merong yung mga integral membrane protein. Okay, so ang function niya is para magpadala at magpalabas ng mga substances na kailangan ng ating ng cell. So halimbawa, kailangan nila ng glucose, so may glucose transporter. Okay, may glucose transporter na tinatawag in the case of your glucose metabolism. So isa pa niyang example is your hemoglobin. So your hemoglobin is iron-containing protein. So it transports oxygen from the lungs, okay, dahil doon tayo humihinga, to the other parts of the body. So nagdi-distribute daw ng oxygen ay itong si hemoglobin. Okay? So last function of proteins as receptor and as for structural and for support. Okay? So as receptors, so ito yung parang pang receptor, para siyang signal transducer. Okay? So it responds cell to a chemical stimuli. So we had discussed this from our first module that your ACE2 receptors, okay, found in your cells, in your respiratory system. Okay? So this ACE2 receptor, dun kumakapit si SARS-CoV-2, di ba? Okay, but may ACE2 receptor is for your para sa ACE2 sa angiotensin enzyme. Okay? So hina-hijack ni SARS-CoV-2 at kakapit din pala siya doon, okay, para makapag-reproduce siya at makapag-replicate siya inside the cell. Okay? So, yung receptor is a type of protein. Okay? Next example, next function pala, is for support, for structural. Okay? So, one good example of is your keratin found on your hair, horns, feather, and sa kuko natin. Okay? So, yung ito palang buhok natin is composed of protein na also. Your horns, wala namang kayong horns, maybe horns ng kalabaw, horns ng rhinoceros, ng elephant, feathers ng mga ibon, and other skin appendages, pati mga kuko natin. So those contains protein, and this type of protein is keratin. right? And insects, spiders, yun. So, yung sapot ng gagamba.
Alright, so isa pang example niyan would be the silk fibers in your insects tsaka yung mga sapot ng gagamba. Okay? So yung sapot ng gagamba ay matibay, guys. Actually, pagka yung isang strand noon ay nakaya niyo pang putulin, pero pagka yun ay pinag-combine, I mean binuhol mo sa isa't isa, ay matibay yun. Okay? So yung silk din, okay, yung galing sa cocoon ng mga kung ano mang insect yun. Okay? So those are also made of proteins. Okay? Also your collagen and elastin proteins provide a fibrous framework in animal connective tissues. At ito, nakita niyo ba tong picture na to? So focus on this picture, and then ito yung comparison ng skin ng mas bata at ng matatanda. Okay? So, ayan, kunyari ito yung surface. Okay? So, you know, you have your epidermis, dermis, it's a hypodermis. Now, in the dermis, which is the middle layer of the skin, okay? So, sa younger skin, ay marami pa diyang collagen. Okay? While sa aging skin, sa age ng matatanda, ay kakaunti na at putol-putol na halos ang collagen at yung elastin mo ay kalat-kalat na rin. So, from an ordered structure, okay, of these proteins from the younger skin, it becomes a disordered structure. So, ano mapapansin natin? Kaya nangungulubot ang mga skin is because collagen and elastins are now disordered in the case of skins of adults or older people. Kaya yan, so from a younger at silky at saka supple na skin, diba? Yung banat na banat, dahil nga yan ay for the structural support of that collagen. Ayan, may framework siya. Ay nakalas, okay? Na-destroy yung connection, yung network na yun. Okay, edi yun, naging luray-luray ang skin, So, those are the structure, or the functions of protein. So, as enzyme, as storage, okay? As a receptor, as a hormone, as a, for support, ano pa ba? So, for your, for defensive, for transport, and many others, okay? So, our body actually has so many proteins, guys. Okay? So, our body is dahil nga sa enzymes pa lang, each biochemical reaction has specific enzymes, corresponding enzyme to catalyzes. So, tens of thousands of proteins ang makikita sa ating katawan. So, merong maliliit lang, merong super lalaki na mga proteins, kagaya niyan, okay? Yan. Okay, so wag kayong ma-overwhelm kung ano-ano yung mga yan, but because we will start from the very beginning at very building blocks of proteins, which is your amino acids. So, we will discuss that in our next video.